25 years ago, the Reverend Chadvara formed the Samaritans in London. His aim was to help the suicidal and the despairing. Now there are 167 centres throughout the country. There are 19,000 volunteers, and they answer over 1 million calls every year. The Samaritans don't offer physical or financial assistance. They don't even claim to offer expert advice. They do offer a listening ear that is completely confidential, accepting, anonymous, and totally available. When even London seems completely empty, if you call the Samaritans, someone will be there.
Hello, Samaritans. Can I help you?
Anyone can become a Samaritan. This is the story of a group of volunteers at one branch who are about to begin a 4-week course which will prepare them to help the suicidal and despairing.
So let me then firstly welcome you to the course, which, as you know, is starting tonight. You'll remember I'm Frank. I bear the little title of director of the branch. I have 6 deputy directors, and that's how we run the branch.
No, but, to share your problem with somebody, why not? Well, I think that's the way perhaps you feel at the moment.
These are experienced Samaritans answering genuine calls. Since the organisation became a national charity, the suicide rate has dropped 37%. But the Samaritans do not aim primarily to prevent suicide, rather to befriend the suicidal.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And if you wanted to commit suicide, I wouldn't stop you if that's really what you wanted to do.
People ring the Samaritans for many different reasons.
What do you want to talk about? What you like dressing up in? What clothes you like? Well, what do you like? You like women's clothes.
You're the lady with 3 very bright children, aren't you? That's right. And you have a great difficulty sleeping at night sometimes.
Yes, I bet you do. You like looking in Marks and Spencer's and finding all the nice ones.
Oh, what a nuisance. So didn't you get any marks for it?
It's the effect of drink then, really, on him, is it not?
Have you got any tablets at this moment?
If I know anything about the Freemasons.
Do you think the sort of prison welfare people will be able to help?
Hey, did you get into trouble about the kettle? You remember you boiled the kettle dry? Didn't you? You were lucky.
You're getting very gay, aren't you?
There's no ladies here, I'm afraid. Can I help you? Hello? Can I help you at all? No. Didn't like the sound of my voice.
So how do you help people at the end of their tether, at the end of the line?
Samaritans, can I help you?
Ashley 431 has been a Samaritan for 3 years. Like all Samaritans, he's known by a number rather than a surname.
And just left you all alone?
In this genuine call, we've bleeped out anything that could identify the caller.
And you're just getting on top of you, then? Must be difficult. What was it?
To begin with, Ashley tries to get the caller to talk about the happier times of her life.
What was your husband's name? How long were you married to him? How long? Really? And he died 2 years ago? How long were you married for? That's a long time, isn't it? Were you very happy? That's great. Tell me about...
But Samaritans don't avoid the subject of suicide. They may even introduce it into the conversation.
And just everything's getting on top of you at the moment, is it? Yeah, and you're feeling really bad. And you feel you want to kill yourself. Yeah. I'll do my best. I won't leave you anyway. I'm here.
Ashley could arrange for someone to go to this caller, but that's only for the direst emergencies.
What about visiting us yourself? Can't you get over here?
Too often.
I'm sure you could get over here, couldn't you? Okay. See if you can come over here. We'll see you.
Does it worry you?
Sorry? Is it 2286? Okay, but I don't think I can get anyone out to see you. All right? I'll call you back in a few minutes then. Or shall I call you back later on? All right.
Have you been alone again?
Ashley doesn't feel he can decide on his own, but the director of the centre can be consulted for advice and guidance at any time.
Hello, can I speak to Frank, please? Frank, is that Frank? This is Ashley here. Just had a girl on the phone who's, you probably have heard of her. She's phoned several times before, I think. She's asking if someone can go out to see her. She's in the sort of Clapham Junction area. But she sounded pretty desperate, but I know I've spoken to her several times before, and she's phoned several times today as well. Should I get someone out to see her or not? I'm not terribly sure, really. She asked me to phone her back, which I will do in a few minutes.
The director's advice is to keep the caller talking in the hope that the crisis will pass.
Household just a flat. There's a high-rise flat. Have you got other relations to invite?
She's run off. Hello. It's Ashley here again. Ashley. Hello, how are you feeling now?
They all live.
How? Just tell me about it. Bloody awful. Uh-huh. You're not feeling so suicidal now? You are still? Yeah. Yeah. She's getting better now. She's not quite so bad. She's probably had a drink. Yeah. Things can get pretty tough, can't they? Yeah.
The main things we're looking for, I think, are people who are accepting people. That is, people who are prepared to accept people as they are, whatever they're like, as they come. And are people who can listen. Listen and listen and listen. Not only hear what a person is saying, but hear what they're not saying. And get behind the presenting problem to the real problem. And be prepared to sit and listen. We may be an aid to the social services and government, but we are not part of it. We're quite independent, a voluntary organisation doing our thing in our way as a big army of volunteers with very few people paid in the whole country in the work of the Samaritans. We want to be here to meet whoever comes in, to answer the phone whenever it rings. That's our job. We did have the incident of the man quite recently who came sent to us by one of the TV companies, actually, because he said he'd got the television programmes coming out of his head, and he wanted compensation and paying for this. And when he was told quite firmly, well, we didn't have any money, we couldn't give him anything, he went and said, you're no good to me at all. Hello, can I help you?
George here?
Not tonight, no. He's not here this evening. Well, look, have a seat. What's your name?
My name's Fred.
You're Fred, I'm Frank.
Fred is in fact a Samaritan volunteer. He's acting a part.
It's just that I was coming home in the bus this evening and I passed the church where we got married.
And that brought back memories.
I thought I got over it all.
Well, where's your wife now?
She's dead. I suppose I felt a bit numbed at first. And then by the time it all hit me, nobody wanted to know.
I think it's a fairly common thing, actually, that people will say a brief word of, commiseration and then run away on the other side of the road. They don't want to stop and talk, and sometimes you want to talk about your wife, your partner. And the others don't. They don't want to listen. They're somehow embarrassed. It's a pity.
You just keep changing the subject. I don't want to bother you anymore. I think I'll wait.
This kind of role play is important. Later in the course, the volunteers will have to answer the phone to imaginary callers. But this role play is to promote discussion.
It seemed to me that you didn't discuss his feelings. You were talking about everything around his feelings. You didn't discuss his feelings at all. And that's what he's living with at the moment. But they didn't come out at all.
Yeah? Any other comments?
Can I say something? I realised directly it wasn't a put-up job. I don't know if anyone else sensed it, but I did. His grief was not real enough for me. And you, I think you gave yourself away, Frank. Slightly. Perhaps I'm perceptive, but I didn't feel it was a genuine case. I don't know what Dorothy's trying to say the same. I didn't feel it was genuine.
Marjorie is married to an Indian and has spent much of her life in India.
I would love to tell you this story. My sister-in-law is a holy girl, and the gentleman she is secretary to is chairman of the World Peace Movement. Now, his sister is considered one of the elders of the ashram, which is a holy centre. Well, to condense the story, Richard, I went to see her several times. And one afternoon we were there, and she and I had little time together on our own. And she took my hands and she said to me, "My child, you have a wonderful gift. You are warm-hearted, you're intelligent, you love your fellow human being, you know? You don't discriminate with people, you don't discriminate with colour. Use it, channel it, because you have a rare gift."
I've sat talking to a client, someone who's rung in, wants someone to talk to while she dies.
Have you ever been in trouble with the law like that? Or does the law step in?
There's
Or
no
what
law,
do you do?
There is no law against suicide.
No, true, but at the same time, if you've got, say, the husband or the wife that came in with the victim or the person that took their life, and you're sitting there and letting them die because it's their life to do as they wish with, does it never come back to you? Does the law not come down on you?
Never.
Wait, what?
You see, what is our attitude to death?
Yeah.
To life and to death.
Yes.
I mean, a person has a right to take his or her own life, is responsible for his or her own life. If you take somebody along to hospital and have them pumped out, what may the reaction be the next day? Just to go and do it again.
Yeah, but supposing it just was a trauma, as Danny said, and the next day they would regret the whole thing and think, what a fool I was. What a bloody fool I was.
It's their right, if they want
You still think it's their right, and for Frank to hold his hand wherever else is here,
to go all the way.
to go and die. Is there no legal comeback on it?
Not a bit, not one dot, not one dot of legal comeback,
You don't
no.
have the legal
No,
comeback.
the law doesn't come into it, you see.
I see.
The law doesn't come into it.
Yeah.
The old law, I think, included the fact that I think suicide was a criminal offence.
Yes, and you
That
were
law was
buried
changed
in
quite a number of years
consecrated
ago,
ground,
wasn't
were
it?
you?
Attempted suicide, right,
Yeah.
was a criminal offence, but that law was changed some years ago.
Now, this talk on befriending those with psychological problems is not given to make you amateur psychiatrists. When you think that the psychiatrist has, I don't know, 7 years training, I believe, for you to think that you can even tackle it in an amateur way in 2 hours is ridiculous. Nor is the talk given to enable you to label a client that he is neurotic or psychotic or schizophrenic or paranoid or whatever. It is merely given to enable you to realise a little better why a particular client is acting in a particular way. The two most common disorders that we have to deal with in befriending those with psychological problems are the state of depression and the state of anxiety. There is nothing quite like the blackness of endogenous depression. Don't minimise it, it is hell down there. And I would just make this point with endogenous depressives, that not everyone who is an endogenous depressive may appear to be depressed. They may not even look particularly miserable. They may force themselves to appear calm and smile. And yet the danger of suicide in those cases is even greater, and goodness knows it is bad enough in the case of the ordinary endogenous depressive.
Judy is a housewife and the mother of 3 children. She lives in Barnes.
I have a very strong feeling I want to join the Samaritans. There are lots of other charities, there are lots of other do-goody type things that you can do, but none of them really appeal. The thing that comes to mind about people wanting to commit suicide, and it made a very deep impression on me, somebody in the Panorama team, about 4 years ago, I think it was, committed suicide. He's a very nice-looking man, a man you'd think would have everything. And he committed suicide, and he left a note saying he was so lonely he couldn't go on. And I think, if anything, made me think of the Samaritans. It was such a personality as his, feeling so desperate. And I remember thinking, if only I'd known. It's such a silly thing to think. I mean, why should he bother if I knew or not? But if only I'd known, I'd have rung him up, I'd have gone up to see him, I'd have done anything.
Judy is the first of the volunteers to have to answer a role-play phone call in front of the rest of the class.
Samaritans, can I help you? Can you tell me something?
Her first problem is the caller's silence and how to break that barrier. The caller is in another room. His voice is relayed over a loudspeaker.
Can you tell me your name? My name's Judy. Do you have a name I can call you?
Yeah, you can call me Matthew.
Matthew. Right, Matthew. Can you tell me what's making you unhappy?
I don't understand. I just don't understand.
I'm listening. What don't you understand?
The doctor gave me some tablets or something. They don't help. He doesn't understand either.
Can you tell me more about it? I want to understand. Can you give me a reason why you can't sleep, why you're unhappy?
It isn't worth it. I'm not worth it.
Of course you're worth it. And I want to help. There must be a reason for you to live, Matthew, if we can find it. What do you think you've lost? What was your reason for living that you think you've lost?
There's not much point. I might as well go.
Matthew, we're always here.
Thank you for listening.
Please ring again.
That call was made to illustrate an endogenous depressive. I don't know how Judy felt about it.
Rather lost for words, really.
Well, that's not surprising. How did you feel, Matthew?
Pretty terrible.
What, as a result of what Judy said?
No, as a result of trying to bring up a situation. But Judy helped tremendously.
I felt a little bit lost for words. I didn't quite know how much to say. That was the difficult thing. How much to encourage him to speak. Because I didn't want to seem cold by not saying enough, and yet I didn't want to bulldoze him into saying anything.
Don't be lost for words in the sense that silence becomes strained because it is an empty silence. Silences can be full of meaning, they can be empty, can't they? A cough is quite a useful interjection if you've nothing to say, but it at least indicates to the client that you're still there. What I would suggest in such cases as these, it would probably go on much longer than 10 to 15 minutes, is that you try and get them to the centre.
During the role plays in the classes, we're looking and observing the people on the course. It's often difficult to define exactly what it is that you observe about people. There's some people who talk too much. We feel they wouldn't be good enough listeners. They would talk too much about themselves, their old situation. There are people who perhaps are too shy or too diffident. And perhaps if someone speaks to them, we'll hardly say a word. Things like this, but also somehow the general feel. It's not so much mental as it's sort of a feeling, a heart feel for the right person.
Role play gives volunteers a chance to test themselves, but not always as Samaritans. Marjorie has to play the role of a bereaved woman, while Stephen tries to comfort her.
Samaritans, can I help you? You're in great distress.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to try and help you.
Yes, I know, but you don't know me. How can you really help me?
Well, my name's Stephen. What's your name?
Well, it's Marjorie. I have to talk to someone. I really do. My mother died just 3 weeks ago. I have no one else left. Why does she have to die and leave me alone? somebody look after me now? I think I might as well join her in the grave.
No. I'm here to try and help anyway.
Well, I don't think you can. Thank you anyway.
No. No, don't ring off.
We'll just wait for Marjorie to come back. Thank you very much, Marjorie. Now, how did you feel about that? Was to illustrate reactive depression. How did you feel about it? Well, how did you feel, Stephen?
Well, nervous, to start with.
Naturally.
Yes. And really a bit helpless. Just coming like that, completely unprepared. Found it very difficult to try and get some warmth across, especially in a situation where someone's hysterical.
How did you feel, Marjorie?
Very moved, actually. I tried to picture myself actually in that position. Maybe because a little while ago, I almost went through the same thing. A similar experience. So perhaps I found it a little easier than Stephen did, I don't know.
Sometimes you will fail. That is inevitable. It's not because you didn't do your best, but maybe, well, with this client, this last role play we did, the client died. You have to say to yourself at that moment, I did my best. We don't work as individuals. You're not left to carry the responsibility on your own. It's too great a responsibility. We work as a team. You and the duty director and the other Samaritan on duty, we're working as a group, as a team together, because we realise that for any one person to take this responsibility is a great weight very often upon young shoulders, and it's not fair on a particular person. It is our object not just to keep people alive. It is to try and help them to be happy to be alive. And that's a great assignment, isn't it? Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, please. It reflects back to Frank last week. Do you mind if I just say, it's been bugging me all the week, Frank. It was Danny, and I have made some notes here. Danny's question was, if someone walked into this office and said, I have taken an overdose, you said you'd sit there, hold their hand, and talk to them while they died. And I can't accept that you would sit there and watch them die, Frank. And if you can say honestly to me that you really meant that, I think I'll have to walk out, Frank, because I couldn't sit here and watch a person die. I have watched and sat with cancer patients and held their hands while they died. And I could do nothing to help them, except give them love and comfort and let them go. And I've seen a mother, 9 months waiting for a baby, and it's been born, an anencephalic baby, or a prolapsed cord. And what do you say to them?
Yeah.
You see?
Yes, and what you're saying what the answer is. If someone may come along, as in the role play, in fact ring in and say, well, there is no hope for me, I want some friendship and love, someone to talk to while the end comes. And this is what may happen. It's rarely going to happen, but it may happen. On the whole aspect of life and death, there are two things, aren't there, which we've all got to go through. One is birth and one is death. And we've all got very fascinated in society in general about birth. But at the other end of life, people shy away from it far too much. We run away from death. If a person says, well, here I am, I'm at the end, the very end of everything, there's really nothing for me, please be nice to me and kind to me while I die, well, let's try and do it.
You really mean that?
Yes. There's There's nobody else who stands out at the moment, is there? I think the interesting thing is that 5 people who came last week haven't come tonight.
After the class, the directors often meet.
Is there anybody who's obviously not really going to be suitable? I mean, that's the question. I think that's
yes.
Yeah. I think what it seems to me is that she just won't be able to take it.
Well,
No.
I mean, she was nearly in tears twice tonight.
Yes.
The role plays she did reduced her to tears almost, because she couldn't speak when she, or almost couldn't speak when she came into the room. And then here, when she was talking about the deaths, she was gulping back then, wasn't she?
Yes.
And you know, it does suggest to me that if she is in a situation, she'll be very, very emotional about it.
It seems to me that if she continues, she just wouldn't be able to take receiving calls, the genuine call. I think that's the most serious thing. Regardless of any other aspect of her reaction and attitudes, she wouldn't be able to take it. It's too much for her. Although she's very keen.
Yes.
Yes. Well, at our meeting last night, we decided that we didn't think Marjorie would be the right sort of person for various reasons, and the one we mentioned was that her emotional involvement we thought would be too great. So I think the best thing is I will write to her today and state this, and in fact say that I don't think it would probably be best if she doesn't pursue the course.
So Marjorie left. Out of the 26 original volunteers, only 20 now remained on the course. One was Danny, who applied to join the Samaritans when he returned from abroad to live and work in Woolwich.
I've known a lot of people that have been in trouble. You know, junkies, well, mixed with everybody really. But when I was abroad, I was a bit down. I lived by handouts from prostitutes, actually. And it's only through meeting people like that you survive, you know what I mean? People that don't care a damn who you are or what you are, as long as you're on your feet and on your own way. I think those type of people stand out from the rest.
I always wanted to do something, welfare or some social work or something. And then I always thought, well, you'd have to have degrees or something like that. And then I saw a programme on the television that advertised saying they wanted to recruit some new Samaritans. So I thought, well, I'll go along and apply. The reason for doing it is I think that you take a lot out of life, and I feel that, you know, most people should put something back in.
Not all Samaritan clients are on the phone. Danny is asked to cope with a face-to-face role play.
And suddenly there's a rat-tat-tat at the door, and you're faced with a very difficult situation. How are you going to handle it? Have a go.
Sit down. What seems to be the trouble?
I've done something awful. I've done something terrible. It's my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I may have killed him.
How do you mean you may have killed him? What do you think you've done?
Well, there was blood.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't move.
How long ago was this?
Just now.
Just now. Is it very
Yes.
far?
No. I came home, you see, late. Because I'd been babysitting for my daughter. And I came in late. And they were there in my sitting room. They were both there, you see.
Mm-hmm. Your husband and?
Well, this woman.
Uh-huh. And then what happened?
Well, I hit him.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very heavy thing. It was on the desk. great big heavy sort of paperweight thing, and it was very heavy indeed. That he'd stopped seeing this woman. He promised me that.
It's okay, take your time.
But you see, I don't know what I should do now.
Well, do you think we should call for an ambulance? Just so somebody is there, and they'll take a load of worry off your mind, hey?
They'll arrest me, won't they?
No, I don't think they'll arrest you.
Why?
Well, he's probably just got a bad cut.
See, I don't know, he may not still be unconscious at all. I mean, if it's like you say, that it's not as bad as that, as... But what... Do you think it was very wrong thing to do?
No, I don't think it's particularly wrong. Everybody has a temper. Probably isn't as bad as you think.
Do you think I should go back and see?
I think you should... How much was he bleeding? A lot, you say?
Yes, quite a lot. I didn't stay very long. To see, but I mean, he was bleeding. And he was unconscious.
Would you like me to go back with you?
Would you?
Certainly. Is it far? I'll just have to leave a message, okay?
Yes.
And then I'll come down the road.
Will you come with me?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is all right, you won't have to tell me.
Not if you don't want.
Danny was praised for agreeing to go with Joy, but he was told that he ought not to leave the centre unattended.
I thought that the role play, well, to me, I was more bothered with the body and the blood than where I was really the marital problem. But I think it'd be very hard for a single person to deal with a marriage problem. I think, you know, it would be better for the person who was on duty to be married to deal with that subject. I think there'd be some areas I'd be going into that I wouldn't know anything about. I suppose you'd just be a good listener. I wouldn't be able to offer any advice, I don't think, anyway.
Now, I've divided this talk into two parts. And in the first part, I want to talk about clients with sexual problems. And in the second part, I want to talk about clients who make sex calls, which are two quite different things. Now, there are two words of caution I would give you. First of all, if a young child rings you up and asks to be told the facts of life, your first thought probably is that it's a con, especially if you can hear somebody giggling in the background. But I do beg of you to take it seriously. If you've read Chad's book, you'll know that the very first thing that put the idea of Samaritans into his mind was the fact that he was asked to bury a young girl of 14 who'd taken her own life because she didn't understand what menstruation was and she thought she had an incurable illness. So please bear that in mind. The second thing is, do be wary of judging too quickly. Not every man who rings up using the current four-letter words is obscene. He may be using the current four-letter words because he doesn't know any others. And when you ask yourself, what's the choice? You've either got to use the four-letter words or the very clinical words. And he may well not know the very clinical words. So take him on trust. You know, believe that he's sincere till it's proved to you otherwise. Now, I think if I could ask you, Ernest, if you would make your call, and Oriel, I think, is going to take it.
Are you married?
No, I'm not.
Is it possible to talk to a man?
If you wanted to talk to a man, yes, it would be.
Well, can you put one on?
Yes, certainly, if you wish it.
Well,
Oriel was criticised for not trying to cope with this on her own. If she were actually on Samaritan duty, there might be no one to turn to for help.
Hello, my name's Andy. Can I help you?
Well, Andy, trouble is, well, how can I put it? I can't make it with girls.
Never?
Never.
Why do you think that is?
Well, if I knew, I might be able to do something about it.
Has it happened often?
Well, it has happened quite a number of times, but, you know, I'm scared now of going with them in case I can't make it in the end.
I should think that's part of the problem, isn't it? If you're so scared, you feel tense and worried. That can't help things. Do you feel that?
Well, I don't know. I've been to doctors, and I've been to psychiatrists, and I've been to an analyst, and I've been to hypnotists, and I've been to faith healers, and I've read books on sex, and I've brought sex magazines, but I'm still like it. So I thought I'd try you lot as a last resort.
Well, I'm afraid there's no magic cure we can give you. As I'm sure you know yourself, it's just a question of trying to be relaxed and win your confidence back slowly.
Well, thank you very much for listening to me anyhow.
Perhaps you'll call again. There'll be somebody different on.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Well, Ernest, would you like to say something about how you felt about it?
Well, I did have a client like this, you see. What I managed to do in his case was to get him to come in and see me. And I was hoping that's what you would ask.
To tell the truth, I had such a sense of failure because I felt that I was continually getting nowhere, that I just didn't have the confidence to ask in the end.
I did feel at the end I was left a little bit high and dry because, you know, I felt you didn't really know what to do next.
The other thing I think you can...
Dealing with a sexual problem like impotence can be difficult enough, but the sex caller presents a different problem, and different branches have different solutions.
Now, really, I'm addressing myself to the women in the room because it's unlikely that the men are going to receive any. Now, there are, I think, really two things, or two or three things you can do. One is, very often they want to masturbate. This is what they want. They want to masturbate while they talk to you on the phone. Now, some people find it quite easy to accept this and to talk to them quite happily in the sort of way they want. Personally, I don't, but this is entirely up to you. We do have a service which is known as the Brenda service. Actually, Brenda is not one Samaritan, Brenda is several Samaritans who take it in turns to come into the centre and deal with or take the sex calls. And we always have a list up saying when Brenda will be in the centre. So if you really find that, you know, this is a full-blown sex call and you really can't cope with it, you say, I'm terribly sorry, I really can't help you, but if you'd like to speak to Brenda, she will be here at, and I'm sure you'll find her helpful, you know, and so on. Some of them will willingly say, yes, I'll ring on Monday at 1 o'clock. Mostly they say, I shan't be turned on Monday at 1 o'clock, but however, that's their problem really, not yours.
Yeah, what are they really after when they phone up? I mean, if they know they're not going to get anything out of it, what are they actually phoning up for? Just to get off their chest sort of thing?
Yes, quite often. Phoning for kicks too. And obviously they are frustrated men with a problem, I think. I mean, why do they phone up, you know, and do heavy breathing? Yes, I must tell you this. I have once or twice had a caller who began with a very solemn, serious problem, and suddenly I found myself in the middle of a sex call. And he was going, oh, don't stop now, go on, you know, I must. And I thought, oh dear. And I couldn't sort of think of anything at all to say, so I contented myself with a bit of panting, which seemed to satisfy him and didn't compromise me, you know. The girl on the other side of the table couldn't make out what was going on, you know. I was sort of going, like this, you see, as realistically as possible. At the end of which he said, thank you very much, and banged the phone down. So he was obviously easily
Now, what we want to do is, as we've come to the end of our training programme, you need to be reminded that Samaritan expertise consists of listening to the client and sharing his distress. We're not going to be labelling, remember, not labelling clients, not trying to put them into categories. Our basic role is still listening. Listening and hearing what they're saying and hearing what they're not saying to try and see what it is. And give a sense of warmth and friendship which people are looking for, and that's why they're ringing us up anyway. I think you've observed that some people are no longer with us. When I say that everybody who was dropped from the course, except one, has disappeared of their own volition. 30 people were invited to come on this course, 26 came, and tonight we are 16. That's our score this evening. People are going to make mistakes. We all do at certain times. But if we go on another 20 hours, we might still make the same mistakes. Training can't go on forever.
Both Judy and Danny have completed the course. Both have been provisionally accepted as Samaritans. But before final acceptance, they have to go on observer duty with 2 experienced Samaritans. This is the first time Judy has been into the telephone room. Like the film crew, she is given an undertaking not to divulge anything she sees or hears.
Hello, Judy. Hello. This is Mary. The date and
As observers, Judy and Danny have merely to watch, listen to, and discuss what happens. But even this first time, they may have to answer a genuine call.
And just take either of the... Have you been on observer duty before?
The Samaritans on duty decide that Judy shall take the next call to come in.
She's a nice girl, too.
What is
She's
she?
young.
Yes.
She's
What
been
is
in.
that?
I've seen her several times. Have you had enough?
Samaritans, can I help you?
Danny, too, has to take a call on his first observer duty.
Hello, Samaritans. May I help you?
I see. In what way?
You can never tell what that first call may be. In Judy's case, it's a severe marital crisis.
Well, that's very difficult for you, isn't it?
Oh, yes. What's your name?
My name's Rosie.
Oh, hello.
Rosie.
No, dear. My name's Danny. Danny. Yes, that's it.
There's a book by Laurie Lee, isn't it? That's Cider with Rosie.
In Danny's case, it's a regular client ringing in for a chat. But the preparation classes could not prepare him totally for her problem, constipation.
And how long has your husband been a homosexual? How long have you known this? Do you still have a sex relationship with him? Not at all. Have you any children? No. So you probably feel very lonely.
No. Nobody really likes a dentist. Do you know I had a friend 31 ran out of a dentist a month ago? Good grief.
So your husband goes out and leaves you alone, does he? That's not a very nice way of life, is it?
Bye-bye, Anna. Sweet dreams.
That's good. She said goodbye.
I think she's constipated. It comes out like marbles.
She sounds absolutely drugged.
She probably is then.
Samaritans, can I help you?
Hello, Samaritans. May I help you?
Why isn't there any point?
The fireman. I was quite shocked that they were still on a 48-hour working week.
That's very difficult for you. Have you phoned us before?
If it goes down in big lumps, that's what causes the acid.
I mean, have you found that we've helped you at all?
Chew longer.
It's very hard to stay on loving somebody when you don't have a proper relationship with them, isn't it?
Bye-bye now.